Welcome back to another episode of the Link podcast presented to you by Electra Link. I'm your host, Bree Pettit, and today we have some of the Electra Link sales team. They're going to be sharing some insightful information about what they do, including the challenges they may face, as well as what it takes to be successful in sales. So to start, we're just going to have everyone go around and introduce themselves, what city they do sales in, and how long they've been at Electra Link.
Hey guys, hello, my name is Jesse Rodriguez. I'm part of the Houston sales team. I've been employed with Electra Link for 24 years.
Good morning, this is Maddox, and I'm in the San Antonio market, just 2 months short of 10 years, a fast 10 years.
Paul Parsons, I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, 18 years.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining today's episode. I'm excited to have you all here. And Paul, this is his second episode, so you guys might recognize his voice from the Dallas episode. So welcome back, Paul.
Thank you.
So to kick things off today, we're going to start with a fun question because sales is kind of fun and everyone loves a good happy hour. What drink would describe you most and why?
I would say whiskey for me.
Good choice.
It's very versatile. You can use it a lot in different drinks. Just like myself, here at Electra Link, I started off as a tech, moved up to a foreman, project manager, estimator, and now on the sales team.
That's awesome.
Well, I don't have that variation of experience that Jesse has, so I didn't have to go right to the hard stuff. It varies, obviously. Sometimes I'll start with a Mexican Modelo, then a vodka, and ultimately Cabernet Sauvignon.
Nice.
Or maybe go straight to a red wine can.
Like red wines, those are good.
Nice. And this is what we want to drink, or this is?
Or what drink you would be. If you were a
what I would
drink.
be.
Yes, and why?
Oh. I guess, I don't know, maybe a martini, but not one of the sophisticated ones.
Yeah.
Maybe more like a Cosmo or a or an espresso martini.
Ooh.
Some energy.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. I like that. I think I would be a pina colada.
Yeah.
Because I like the beach.
Or maybe even a margarita. It's kind of innocent, but
It's got a little
sweep
kick.
you off your feet. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so what do you guys think is one of the most important lessons that your job has taught you that you think everyone should learn if they're going to be in sales?
Never give up on a customer. I know a lot of people, well, like myself, beginning in sales, I was down because we didn't win a project. But you just need to build a better relationship with that person, and it'll help out in the long run. Circle back with them. Always check to see what they're going to need.
Yeah, I'll agree with Jesse. And I think the listening is key to sales. Somebody once told me that selling is not telling, it's listening. And I think you can gain a lot from just paying attention and truly listening to your customers, because they'll tell you how they want to be sold.
Yeah.
If you pay close enough attention.
And I think they notice when they can see that you hear them, what they want.
And they can tell that you care.
Well, it's not easy coming behind Jesse and Paul. They nailed it, obviously. But yes, listening, I would agree that listening is vital because everyone likes to talk about themselves. So you just have to draw them out. And again, it's basic, but persevere. Just never underestimate the value of the relationship and you have to build that relationship. And it takes some time, but perseverance. Just hang in there. Don't get discouraged.
Yeah.
I think along with the perseverance is handling rejection well and gracefully losing. I see so many people that get so upset, and you can't take it personally. You just have to accept it and learn from it.
Yeah.
I guess another thing is I made this mistake when I first started, is comparing myself to others. I started to see how other people were performing, and I got down on myself because this job takes a little while to get going.
Yeah.
It took me the better part of 2 years. I failed miserably in the beginning. And I think I had seen so many folks across the company that were successful, and I wanted to be there right away.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you guys agree with that?
I would agree. As a matter of fact, I would agree, but yet I would disagree because I wanted to compare myself to you, Paul.
Yeah.
Obviously, of course, you've got some tenure and a lot of experience, but
What do you guys say is one of the most challenging things that you have to face in sales?
Not getting a response from customers from an email or a call. It's so brutal. You think you just because you turn in a bid to them that they would get back with you in a timely manner to say whether you lost it or won it. But sometimes they're just unreachable, and you just have to figure it out and move on to the next one.
I know when I first started at this, I came from a different sort of sales role. I was in the financial industry and a stockbroker, and I never had to rely on anyone outside of myself to sell anything. So it was a transition to have to, number one, bring the opportunity in. Number two, have an estimator then engage. So the sale can fall apart at different places where you might not even have control over it. So that was a bit of a learning curve for me. From my previous job is relying on others to get the sale closed.
Yeah. But you guys say in sales, are you doing more of just like kind of the first part of it, or are you there with the customer through the whole entire thing from start to finish?
Pretty much start to finish.
Okay.
There's a point where I don't know, it's almost like maybe I'll throw a restaurant analogy out there. It's almost like we're the host or hostess at the beginning, and then we bring them to their table and they sit down, and now the waiter is more or less the project manager. The project manager then takes over, and when the dinner's done, then they wrap up and they go out, and then we maintain the relationship. So we're essentially there from start to finish, but during the project, sales is less involved and operations takes over from that point.
Yes, I would agree with that. And I think we've all seen long after the sale is made or the PO has been received or contract or notice to proceed, our customers realize all the rest of the talent involved. They realize that and they come to know operations folks, estimators, and obviously their project manager. But even long after that, they end up calling us individually, reaching out to the sales team, the sales folks on the account.
What would you guys say is something that's indispensable to being successful in your job, whether that's a tool or a concept or whatever that might be for you?
The tools I use, believe it or not, is LinkedIn. I use that a lot on a daily basis. Our CRM, Sales Now, use that a lot. And as a salesperson, if you don't have Adobe Acrobat, I don't know how you can do your job, because I use that on a daily basis. Getting quotes from estimators, things need to change, dates, people's names. It's a wonderful tool to use, and I use it every day.
Yes, there are certainly those technology tools that you've got to have. But I would say that the relationship building and networking would have to be indispensable. I mean, that's one word, but a big topic. And we can go on and on about the value of networking. And we could discuss that in our group sales meetings. You've got to focus on building those relationships.
Yeah, taking the time and seeing them. And I think seeing them in person is probably pretty important too, not just the online aspect.
Yeah, and hand in hand with that, not necessarily a tool or a concept, but really indispensable in this business is your attitude, a positive attitude. You have to find ways to continue to stay positive, because we do face a lot.
Yeah, you guys definitely do not have an easy job. Do not envy that.
Yeah, you most definitely need to be outgoing, and like Paul said earlier, you have to be a good listener to the customer and be able to easily make friends. That'll help out a lot.
When you guys first got into sales, was it pretty hard to make connections? Has it gotten easier the longer you've been in it?
I would say so. Yes, that's all part of that perseverance that you just have to realize that. And you could hear us joking about it sometimes, that it's a boot camp. When you sign up with Electra Link, then, and maybe with a lot of companies, you've got a year, 2 years, 3 years in the trenches or in the boot camp. And then all of a sudden you realize, I guess I've turned that corner.
Yeah.
I don't deal with the same frustrations, and you built those relationships. So
It's good. You got to put in the longevity.
Yes.
Yeah, along the lines of what Van's saying, it does start to snowball. I came into this industry not knowing anything about it, but quickly had made some friends and built a network group, as you mentioned. And the more you see and be seen out there, and then Electrolink already has the brand reputation.
Yeah.
Our reputation is sparkling and it's synonymous with quality. So we have people that already want to talk to us. The network grew just continues to snowball, and it gets easier and easier as you go along.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, so those are some of the things that help be successful in sales. What is something that someone who's just getting to sales should absolutely never do?
My main thing is, be available. Be available to your customers, return emails, calls especially. I like to use the rule, don't go over 24 hours without responding to an email. Or if a call comes in and you're busy, I send a text saying, hey, I'll call you right back in the middle of something. And that's just giving the customer, the warm and fuzzies about, okay, they're really interested in our business. They're responding. They're calling back. We want to work with them more.
I would just say, to expand on what Paul touched on earlier, is not getting frustrated over the loss. Mm-hmm. It's a numbers game, definitely. And obviously some of the prospects, we have a higher percentage rate just going in from the beginning. Others, we know that it's a low percentage rate, but sometimes things fall out along the way, and you just got to chase each one with fervor and anticipation and the right attitude. Just don't take it personally. Just hang in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because you lost a project with them now doesn't mean you won't win the next one with them, so you always gotta look at it that way. That's what I do.
Yeah, I completely agree with Jesse. It's we're all in the service industry, we're all in the hospitality business. Mm-hmm. So we need to prioritize customer satisfaction and experience over our products. A positive and memorable experience is really the core of all service businesses. So
yeah.
We want consistency, reliable, and predictable experience, and that brings the customers back.
Yeah,
but to your original question, what should you not do? It's nothing I've ever done, but I don't think a salesperson should ever misrepresent anything, or overpromise or outwardly lie about anything. I mean, that's the death of your sales career right there. I had I remember this is back in my previous sales career, but I had a sales mentor that he heard some folks on the phone talking bad about a competitor of ours, and he said that he made everybody stop and said that professionals don't speak poorly of their competition. Yeah. You don't want to talk bad about somebody else. Speak to your strengths rather than the weaknesses of others. So I guess that's another thing that I would say for somebody breaking in not to do.
What are some ways that Electrolink has helped empower you guys to be successful in your job, whether that's tools or training?
A lot of support from leadership and training. Whenever I need something, I go to whoever's responsible, whether it's legal, operations, anything else, safety, filling out pre-bid packages. Everybody is always there and eager to help to get that win.
I would totally agree with that. We're certainly not a one-man band. I mean, there is a lot of great internal support that's available, and we need that. We end up reaching out. It's interesting. Chasing a deal, we could end up touching a half a dozen of our coworkers in some capacity. So it really is a team effort, and I think we're blessed to have coworkers that are available, that will support us and will help us. And Electrolink realizes the importance of providing expense count for those worthy events and activities. And like Paul says, it's important to see and be seen. And sometimes you just have to spend a few dollars to make that happen.
Yeah, there's just a wealth of knowledge across our company. And I mean, you look at the tenure of some of these employees in the 39 years, we probably have multiple employees that have been here 30 years. So we're empowered that we have all the internal resources to help us grow. And even externally, again, 39 years of a reputation that precedes us. It's not something I made in my 18 years, but it helps us when we're out there. The door is open, and a brand reputation that carries us forward.
Yes. That's
Well,
good.
and be able to, it's another feather in our cap to be able to tell someone that, hey, you're getting a project manager or a senior PM that's been with the company for 20, 25, 28 years, or maybe one of our seasoned estimators that's been here for 30 years. There aren't many people that can claim that, I don't think. They can boast that. So
Yeah, that's impressive.
it is. It's usually recognized as being impressive.
It is. What would you guys say is one of your most proud accomplishments in sales? Or maybe a moment that just stands out to you where you're like, okay, I did that. That worked out really well. Whether it was something that is surprising or something you really worked hard at.
This year, I was brought in to help out with an old customer that we haven't done work for in a long time. And just getting to know them and meeting with them and going over things and, figuring out their needs. Now we have an MSA with them. We're receiving POs when there is another company and they're doing the same thing we are. So I'm pretty proud of that.
That's really
We
good.
used to do a lot of work for them and we didn't anymore. And now we're back at it. So our relationship is built again and we're running smoothly.
There's probably more than one, but this has happened several times when you tackle a job or a prospect, to be able to get all three of our scopes or multiple scopes approved by either the owner or the GC. That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
So, whether it's special services, voice data, AV, it's just kind of an exciting time to get a triple play.
Yeah,
on all
that's
of those.
awesome. That's awesome. And it can really show all the different things that we do.
Yes.
That's my goal too. Triple play.
Yeah, but
I like that, the triple play.
I don't know if this was the biggest accomplishment, but it really stands out. And I think it speaks to, number one, I got really lucky, but it also speaks to persistence. There was news of a large customer moving to Dallas about 5 years ago. Tried everything to track this customer down, emails and phone calls, and I was getting no response. So it just became, it almost became my white whale. I was every Friday afternoon, or almost every Friday, I would call and just leave a message and let them know that we still were interested in doing business with them. Nothing ever happened. And I would say, fast forward 6-7 months later, a networking friend of mine is out to dinner with this guy, and he says, I really need a good cabling contractor in the DFW area. And thank goodness, this person said, you need to call Paul Parsons at Electra Link. And the guy picked up his phone, played my voicemails back to him, and said, is this the guy you're talking about? And he said, yes, you need to call him. So I was pretty proud of that. It's also pretty lucky, but I think it speaks to the persistence on it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And we've been doing business with that customer for 5 years straight.
I have a question for Paul. So every Friday when you made that call, was that before, during, or after happy hour?
This was at the turn on the golf course. It was like everybody else was getting snacks, and I was outside making.
Excuse me, I've got a business call.
Yeah, step
Like,
aside
I'll be
for a
back.
business call.
Yeah, right back.
That's awesome. What are some ways that you guys have found to be the most effective in generating, developing, and closing sales opportunities?
One thing I like to do is be first to the show. I believe if you're not helping out with budget numbers at the planning stage of the project, the design, then you don't have as good a chance at the end to win the project. I have done that time and time again, helped out with budget numbers, and end up winning the project just because of that. You have estimators are more familiar with the project when they do the design phase and the planning than if we just get an RFP.
I think you're right. It's key to get there first. It's it's almost like dating. If you don't make the first move, somebody else is going to. So
Yeah. Okay. How important is it to have good relationships with the vendors, manufacturers, partners, etc.?
I know it just keeps coming back to this every time, and I think it's the most important thing. The relationships are absolutely the most important aspect of it. It leads to loyalty. It leads to customer retention. Even if they do become a customer, it helps with problem solving. If issues arise, they're more likely to reach out to you because they feel valued. rather than just go to the next
Yeah.
the next service provider.
Yeah. Vendors, manufacturers, they are really important. They can help you with leads. They can help you with registered pricing. They can also bring you new opportunities. I think if you have a better shot at winning if you have one or all three in your quarter fighting for the same thing. The end goal is to win the project. It really helps out a lot.
Oh, I definitely agree with both of them on that. And you have to realize that you can't be all things to all people.
Yeah.
It may be if we've got 4 or 5 distributors we work with, then you try to play neutral. You try to have a somewhat of a relationship with all of them, but it may be that only 2 of them will be your buds or will be your go-to. Same thing with manufacturers. And that takes time. You have to be in the trenches and you have to spend time with them, and then it'll shake out. You'll realize, hey, these 2 are my go-to guys, or these 3 are my go-to. But yeah, like Paul says, it's all about relationships.
And it even becomes an emotional connection. I can tell you after 18 years, some of these partners and customers, and they've become friends, and some of them are my best friends.
How do you guys stay motivated during slow periods or in the face of being rejected?
I motivate myself by looking at my goals for the day, for the week, for the month, hanging right above my computer every morning. I look at it. Another thing I do during slow times is I look back at customers that we haven't done work for in the past 6 to 12 months. Touch base, see if we can help with anything, see what they have coming up. That always helps. You're checking back with your customers to see if they need anything. Also, I do a lot of research. I read a lot on companies moving in and around my region. That always helps out a lot. Reading business journal helps out a lot in the Houston area. So I get a lot of leads from that.
That will motivate you to see the amount of work that's coming and potentially down the road. I don't know. I like to keep track of some of my success stories, and maybe almost like a journal that I can look back on, not just kind of notes on projects that if you go through a bad patch or it's slow, you can look back and see that at one time it was good and it's going to get slow again and it'll get good again. So it's a good way to keep you motivated. And again, back to the rejection, it's got to be a learning moment. You can't take it as a personal failure. And I'll point one more time back to when I was a stockbroker. I had a sales manager that said, and we faced rejection constantly, a lot of it on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, just get out there and make these calls, and you're going to hear no. You're going to hear no a lot of times. Once you've heard no 10,000 times, you're going to have your business built. So it might sound a little Pollyanna, but every time you hear no, it's just that much closer to building your business.
But yes, I think it's true. You've got to persevere and not take it personally. And you can believe this if you want to edit it out. But years ago, my dad was in sales too, and I liked the idea, liked the concept, regardless of what you're going to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in the early days, I was talking about being rejected on something, and he made a statement that really shocked me. He said, when you have a rejection like that, something you've worked on for a long time, and you just got the news, then don't overlook the value of just checking out for a couple of hours and going to a movie. And I looked at him and chuckled and said, in the daytime, are you serious? I'm glad he didn't say go to the bar, because there's in the afternoon, nothing's good coming out of that, obviously. But what he meant was a focus change is important, because we do get a lot of rejections.
Yeah.
And so even if it's to whatever focus change we need, and oftentimes maybe the best is, like Paul says, just go back and make that 900th call, 999 till you get to 1,000. But we're oftentimes doing something that's unexpected. Obviously the consequences of doing something are greater than not, or making that call at 6:00, when you can oftentimes get that person, that decision maker, to answer. It goes way back to the early days of sales.
even our networking groups that we have, it helps sometimes just to talk with them about it, because by and large they've gone through the same stuff. And along Jesse's line, you start to talk with your networking group, and you see how many more projects there are there.
Rejection is super hard, especially, in this industry, but you can also use it as a learning experience. What can you do different to close the deal out next time? That's one thing I like to look at.
Yeah, key is ask for feedback if you can. We can't always get feedback from a lost opportunity, but oftentimes they will. What could we have done different? What made you choose that person? And then you'll find out that it's not personal. They have reasons other than they didn't like you.
Yeah, because I'm sure they all like you guys.
How could they not?
Yeah.
Exactly. How do you guys think the sales industry has changed over time?
I don't know that
Or has
I was
it?
going to say, I don't even know that sales itself has changed over time all that much.
Okay.
I feel like marketing has changed. The
Yeah.
digital revolution, data and the analytics, maybe, and obviously social media. I don't know that relationship selling will ever change. I don't know. What does the future hold 10 years from now? I can predict AI-driven sales,
That's weird to think about.
marketing that's augmented reality, maybe personally curated sales. I don't. That's way beyond my level of thinking. But I think AI is part of the future, and nothing's ever going to replace personal relationships.
Yeah, I agree. I think marketing is still important. That has changed. That will probably change and evolve. But the in game obviously is still the same.
Mm-hmm.
To have the prospects call us, whether they call us, whether they email, or whether they touch our social media platforms in some way. But that's what marketing is all about, driving that activity.
What advice would you give to someone starting out in sales? It's like day one on the job, they're shadowing. What would you tell them?
Go back to school for another career.
Mine is well, I've only been in sales for a year and a half. But when I first started, it was very overwhelming because you were working all these different angles, and it was hard to stay focused when you had somebody that would call you and they have a better opportunity that you have a better chance with, but you still need to stay focused on what you're working on. Finish that out first and then move on to the next thing. I was being pulled in every direction, but sometimes I was good.
Maybe getting repetitive. I would embrace the rejection and learn as much as you can from it. Seek feedback from your losses, and actually seek feedback from your wins. It doesn't hurt to say, "Hey, appreciate you guys going with us on this. What was the deciding factor?" And you can also learn from your wins as well.
I would just say that it can be rewarding in many ways. And I think that there are just not too many things that are glamorous or romantic. We all have to do something. We need to make a living. And you may as well try sales if you get the right guidance and a good company that supports you, like we have with Electra Link, and a good track record. I'd say that's important. You just make sure you end up with the right company and get some training along the way. But I guess that would apply to sales or anything you're going to do. It's just don't give up. Know what you've got to do. Get the right training, associate with the right company, and get the support. And man, I've been rambling there too.
That's all right.
Yeah, but especially in this type of sales, of the outside sales and the relationship selling. Somebody starting out, I know this is probably going to sound stupid, but don't be results oriented. Don't measure yourself just by the numbers that come in the door. Spend your time meeting and learning about as many new people as you possibly can. And this will add to your network group. And I'll even go one further on that. In networking groups, don't go there to find out what they can do for you. Find out how you can help those people. Your best networking is if you take the mindset of, who can I help today? It'll pay off substantially. And I guess lastly, somebody coming in is be persistent, but be professionally persistent. I don't think anybody in this room or I don't know anybody that wants to sit down and talk to a timeshare salesperson. Just be professional.
Very good advice.
Another thing I want to add for people starting out in sales, learn what you're selling. You know,
That's good
you
advice.
you must do some research. If you're not in the industry, new coming into the industry, learn about DAS, learn about voice and data, learn about fiber, learn about AV. It will only help you in meetings discussing scope of works
Yeah.
tremendously.
Yes.
I don't know how many times I've gone to meetings. They think I'm just a salesperson until they hear my background and I can talk the talk and walk the walk with them, and then they realize they feel more comfortable.
One thing that goes hand in hand with, and be yourself.
Hmm.
Don't try to be somebody you're not. Be yourself. It comes across genuine. Yeah. If the shoes don't fit, you can't change your feet. So
Might as well
trying
brace
to be
it.
something you're not.
Yeah.
Well, this is interesting. This is my first time being involved in an activity like that. And I guess a lot of what we're talking about, a lot of valuable information from Jesse and Paul both, but I think we just come to take it for granted. A lot of this is just becomes instinctively, but it doesn't happen the first month, the first year, the second year on the job. These are things that you have to be dedicated to learning. And I think Paul touched on something very important where he said, be professionally persistent, because there can be a fine line between that and being obnoxious. Of course, being obnoxious is the kiss of death. So, we want to make a friend and learn as much as we can about the people that we're dealing with.
Okay, well, that is all the time we have for today. So I appreciate you guys so much for joining today's episode. And thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you guys learned something from our wonderful sales team. And make sure you follow the Link Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube so you don't miss out on any episodes. And following up this week's podcast episode on sales, next week we're going to be talking about marketing. So make sure you tune in for that. Thank you guys and have a good rest of your day.